Always in My Heart, written by Ellie Dean, read by Julie Maisey. The moral right of the author has been asserted. Chapter 1. Malaya, December 1941. Despite the isolation of the rubber plantation and the simplicity of the large tin-roofed wooden bungalow that jutted from the hillside on stilts above the canopy of trees, the Fuller family always dressed for dinner, even when dining alone. But tonight they had a guest, a very special guest. A 19-year-old Sarah Fuller had taken extra care with her appearance. Instead of the usual cotton blouse, skirt and sensible shoes Philip Tarrant saw her in every day at her father's plantation office, she had changed into a shantung silk dress that skimmed her slender figure and was the colour of rich cream. Her clear complexion was enhanced by a string of pearls around her neck, and she'd pinned a frangipani flower into her freshly washed fair hair. Philip was 24 and looked very handsome in his white shirt and tuxedo. As their eyes frequently met over the candlelit table, they shared moments of silent intimacy, which brought a flush to Sarah's cheeks that had little to do with the humidity and heat of the tropical night. Tall and darkly attractive, Philip was the son of the wealthy plantation owner. He'd left Malaya as a schoolboy and had returned 18 months ago, moving into his family's magnificent white colonial house that stood hidden amid the trees further up the hill, so he could take over the reins of the plantation from his widowed, ailing father, who had relocated up-country into the much cooler Cameron Highlands. Philip was considered to be a great catch among the ambitious social climbing matrons of the Malaysian peninsula, who had daughters to marry off. But it appeared he only had eyes for Sarah, and she still found that fact rather miraculous. After all, she was only the plantation manager's daughter, an ordinary secretary who, unlike most of her peers, had never left Malaya because her father didn't approve of English boarding schools and long family separations. In the echelons of what passed as high society amongst the white expats here in Malaya, she was regarded with a certain reserve that had hardened somewhat since Philip had shown interest in her. Sarah tore her gaze away from him and tried to concentrate on the delicious food their Chinese cook, Hua Ling, had spent most of the day preparing. She fully understood the infinitesimal layers of the social hierarchy that ruled this colonial outpost, and knew without a doubt that if this delicate relationship with Philip should founder, there would be a degree of smugness amongst those who'd openly sneered that such a match couldn't last. But for now, she was happy to bask in the love that shone from his eyes whenever he looked at her, warmed by the sound of his voice and his nearness as they worked together in the estate office, bent over maps of the vast plantation, and discussing the shipping contracts and warehouse capacities, along with her father, who had managed the business almost single-handedly for many years. She set aside these warm thoughts and listened for a moment to the idle chatter that was going round the table. Her mother, Sybil, wasn't as animated as usual, and although her advanced condition was masked by a voluminous chiffon dress, Sarah knew she was finding it uncomfortable to be so pregnant in this heat. But Sybil Fuller was not a woman to be beaten by such things, and she still looked serene and beautiful, her pale hair and delicate features enhanced by the candle's glow, as she kept a watchful eye on Jane, her youngest daughter. Sarah felt the usual pang of sorrow when she looked at her sister. Jane was 17, and quite beautiful when she wasn't in one of her funny moods. Sometimes it was difficult for those not in the know to realise that Jane was different to other girls her age. But since the riding accident 4 years ago, in which she'd suffered a devastating head injury, the doctor had said she would forever be a child of 12. Yet there remained vestiges of the young woman she might have become in her astonishing ability to solve mathematical problems that were far beyond Sarah's capability. And in this talent lay the spark of hope that she might
Sample complete. Ready to continue?